You are being recognized today for your humanitarian work for several marginalized, low-income refugee families of South and Central and Middle Eastern descent. Can you tell us a little bit about your own background, childhood, and what led you to doing the work you're doing today?
Sure. So I'm born and raised in the United States to a mother who was a political refugee. My father doesn't count because he came here in the 1970s pre-war. But my mom did come shortly thereafter the Soviet Union as a political asylee. And I started interpreting for her at the age of 5. I was in kindergarten and I was interpreting in medical offices, immigration offices, and really the way that I was being brought up and watching the dynamic of them struggling really influenced a lot of my decision making in my life. And more so, the pinnacle of wanting to continue with this kind of work was I was a college student during 9/11. And as an Afghan American, I felt in a very difficult place. I was in the block that I lived on Staten Island. The majority of my neighbors had worked in those buildings and we lost many, many neighbors. But then when we turned on the television, we also lost, there was an attack on my home country. So it was then when I really realized that I wanted to go into this line of work. I started to organize and mobilize in an academic environment at the masjids, which had always been a focal point for us. We started going to the masjid when we were 7 years old, and that's where we made our friends. That's where we had our social interactions. And religion really played a very key role in the majority of what we did.
In our South Asian communities, it's rare for individuals to go towards politics, especially in the United States, and to run for positions in office. What made you want to take that step and run for office?
I usually tell people, if you're not interested in politics, politics is interested in you. So one way or another, you are going to get involved in politics. I have friends that's involved in the health field and they've never been really politically involved. But knowing that our healthcare system is so broken, now they're involved, right? So I have many pharmacist friends. I have friends that are doctors, and now they're politically involved because it affects their life. How I got involved, I was in high school, and it was actually one of my first jobs to work for Congressman Pascrell as a canvasser. So I would knock on doors and remind people to come out to vote or register to vote. And after that, it was one of the toughest campaign. He was running against an individual named Stephen Rothman out of Bergen County. Because of the redistricting that was taking place, only one congressman had to basically take that seat. So after that, I got recruited to become a political operative. So I went for training to Washington to become a political operative, and then worked for many other campaigns after that. Became part of the local Democratic Party, and now I serve as the ward leader, as the Democratic board leader for my area. And why I'm involved now, look, our people, they don't really get too involved in politics, maybe foreign politics, but not domestic politics. And it's important for our community to be represented because there's just so many things that our community is in need of, and you can't get it done without being involved in politics.
What are some things you've learned during your time as an elected ward leader for Patterson?
Look, you have to get personal with youth. A lot of people, I mean, if you ask a politician, they'll give you a scripted answer. Oh, go join your local Democratic Party, get involved in someone's campaign, etc., etc. A lot of people are not interested, especially youngsters. They're not interested in politics, right? So, like I said before, politics cross every path, every field, whether it's health or sport. So you have to make it personal with individuals, especially youngsters. You have to get to know what they're interested, what their interest is, and kind of have a sit down with them and steer them the right way, guide them the right way. I've encouraged many people to get involved in politics, especially youngsters. They go work for a campaign or two, they get burned out, and then they never really get involved anymore. So you have to go a little deeper than, having them work for a local Democratic Party or Republican Party, whatever they are. I don't care whether I'm a Democrat, but I don't care whether they're a Republican. Well, I do care. Let me take that back. But just be involved. Just be politically involved. Yeah.
You are undoubtedly an inspiration for several individuals out there. How has your career as a managing director at FD Translational Services allowed you to bridge the gaps between different communities and also to become the voice of the marginalized through news and social media outlets?
I do hold quite a few different hats. I wear a few different hats. My number one pride is that I am actually a board member of the Afghan American Foundation. And Afghans, over the course of the last 4 decades, have not been able to, unfortunately, due to the different waves of migration and immigration, been able to uphold a foundation. And the foundation that I belong to, we are very much promoting policy, advocacy, mobilization of the community, and upholding a bilateral relationship both between the U.S. and Afghanistan. And that's one way that I look at, doing things that are tangible for the community. Being the managing director of my own business as a female entrepreneur, we have business in our blood, as they say. Afghans are very hardworking people, and I think it's incredibly important to show the world, especially the mother of 2 girls, to show that women can lead, women can make money, women do have a place in society, and we are fully able and fully capable of making decisions at that level. I also teach behavioral health interpretation for Virginia Tech. And in this role, this language justice is a very great passion for me, because if you look at the disparities between communities and between different cultures, language is key. I can't tell you how errors in interpretation have affected people's lives negatively. People have been wrongfully incarcerated. People have been gotten wrong diagnoses. So, there are several different ways of, fulfilling language justice and being able to use that. I also hire refugees. My team is all trained and certified interpreters that take this program, and then they are able to have their own lucrative incomes and careers through this program. Whether it's through taking the class, which is always a free course that's given by the state of Virginia, and then taking that and then reemploying them to be able to do better for themselves and for their societies. I'm also a cultural advisor, which I think is a key element to bridging a lot of these gaps. What we found was there were people who were culturally competent to U.S. systems and beliefs, but when people come from other countries, it's important to feel heard, seen, and understood.
What is one piece of advice that you give to our youth? I know for both of you it was personal and you were able to relate to your parents, for example, but for someone who was born here who hasn't had the direct link to what your situation looked like, what advice would you give them to personally relate to these issues?
Well, look, my advice is get out of the bubble. And what I mean by that is travel, get to see the world, Go visit some families and learn what they're going through. Believe it or not, traveling will teach you more than you learn in a classroom. And that's what will break you out of that bubble. My other advice is, look, majority of our community members have a crab mentality, whether you're from and what I mean by that is, whether you're from a Bangladeshi community, Pakistani community, Afghan, Middle Eastern, we tend to grab each other, by our legs and pull each other down. And that's what I mean by crab mentality. We need to help each other. We need to support each other. We need to encourage each other. We need to be more unified. Someone came to me not too long ago, and he said to me, and this is a great example. He's like, "Have you ever seen a tree that grows by itself?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've seen it." He's like, "Well, a tree by itself is always crooked. It's never straight." It's like if you go to a jungle and see a bunch of trees growing together, they're always straight. And that got me thinking. For example, if I'm successful, if I'm making money, or if I have few businesses that's doing well, my responsibility is to identify 5 more individuals, whether they're members of the community or members of my family, to at least guide them and give them a little bit of financial support to do better. And I think with that mentality, our community, our ummah, will be much stronger than where we are today.
That was a great response. I would agree to a lot of what Sikandar said. And I would also say, listen to that inner voice. It's so interesting because I've probably done so many fields of work. I've been in media. I've been, in mergers and acquisitions, finance. I've been a teacher. But I think something would happen when I would go into a courtroom and interpret for a political asylum case. There was a passion, there was a flame inside of me. And when I left feeling very satisfied. I didn't feel that in the other things. I was happy, I was content, but it's different when there's a flame of passion within you and you listen to that voice and you follow that. For a long time, I ran away from that voice. For a long time, I pushed it away until August, when I was forced to stop everything else that I was doing and find my voice. And I think once you find your voice and once you listen to it and you follow your passion, long-term impact will happen. And that's truly what gratifies a person. And also, I don't know if it's an age thing or at this point in my life, I'm not so much looking for accolades. I'm not so much looking for recognition. I'm looking for legacy. Legacy building is what you leave behind. As Muslims, we believe that we leave this world with 2 empty hands. But what will come when we're gone? What did this person do to better humanity? What did this person do to make this world a better place? Those are the questions you want to ask yourself when you're looking to find your career, to find your passion. How will this make my world a better place?